Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to this edition of Prime, the last for this week, holding on the 20th of May 2022, a day that has been celebrated across the nation as the National Unity Day. We are going to be looking at a topic current understanding the May 1972 event and its implication on Cameroon as we know it today. We are very, very sorry for the late start. We had a lot of issues with connecting to our panelists who are out of our studios. So we are going to be discussing this evening with Professor Victor Julius Ngoh, who is a historian, former registrar at the University of Boya, also Deputy Vice Chancellor at the University of Bomenda. He is the current President of the Catholic University Institute of Boya. Prof, we are glad to have you. Good evening and welcome.
Hello. Yeah, good evening.
Okay. Also, this edition of the program is Baka Derrick. He is the former president of the Cameroon Journalists Trade Union for the Northwest region. Derrick, good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much, Ngoh. Good evening and welcome to the Menda for battling with the issues of electricity. I hope that the network is going to accept us. This conversation. I'm also honored to share this panel with a very respected professor of history to all of you. Thank you very much and good evening.
Okay, we're also in the company in the studio with me of, they call him Ndukong Clovis. He is a teacher of history in our schools across Cameroon. Good evening, the college gentleman. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leonard. And my media team, I'm happy again to be on this platform as a Cameroonian and as a teacher and a researcher in history in Southwest region and the Torah region of Cameroon. I'll speak on this platform today purely as a history teacher and not as a politician, as a history researcher and not as a politician. I'm happy to be on this platform. I think today is the 20th of May 2022. It marks exactly 50 years since the 20th of May 1972 that the Federal Republic of Cameroon, that started on the 1st of October 1961, was on the 20th of May 1972 massively voted by Cameroonians to be changed from Federal Republic of Cameroon to the United Republic of Cameroon. From 1972 to date is 50 years exactly that Cameroon become reunified unitary state and not the Federal Republic of Cameroon. And I think these are the key issues that we're going to be discussing today. And I still repeat that I will speak here as a researcher in history and as well as a teacher and not as a politician. What I will give here today will purely historical facts concerning the creation of a unitary state by the then President of the Republic of Cameroon, Amado Aidjo. I'm happy to be here today, Mr. Leonard.
Okay. Professor Ngoh, please, we can't have your video. Can you on your camera, please, so that the audience can see and listen to you? Your camera is off. Can you turn it on? And while we do that, please, once we are able to get Prof on, indicate to me, Eli. I'll start with you, Ndukong Clovis, in the studio here. Lots of controversy surrounding today's celebration. When was the decision taken to move the country away from a federal to a unitary state, and who took that decision?
I think, Mr. Leonard, we put it it was a historical process, because on this platform today we are going to look at the measures the then President of the Republic of Cameroon, Mr. Amado Aidjo, used to change Cameroon from Federal Republic of Cameroon to the United Republic of Cameroon. On this platform, we are going to look at the reasons why President Amado Aidjo and other Cameroonians said to change Cameroon from Federal to United Republic of Cameroon. But formally on the 6th of May 1972, 6th of May 1972, the then President of the Republic of Cameroon, President Amada Ahijo, informed the political bureau of the CNU and the Parliament of the need for Cameroon to be changed from Federal Republic to the United Republic of Cameroon. I think I will put it that it was President Amada Ahijo's, not only his initial ideas, because there are a combination of many factors why Cameroon was changed from federal to unitary, and there are a combination of many measures.
Yeah, but who took that decision?
That's what I'm saying. Initially, it was President Amada Ahijo, because on the 6th of May 1972, he formally informed the political bureau of the Federal Assembly on the need for Cameroon to return from Federal Republic to the United Republic of Cameroon, but notwithstanding, there were people behind him who supported him that Cameroon to return from Federal Republic of Cameroon to the United Republic of Cameroon on the 20th of May. But before the 20th of May, he had earlier, on the 6th of May, informed the political bureau of the Politburo of the Federal Assembly on the need for Cameroon to be changed from Federal Republic of Cameroon to the United Republic of Cameroon. But before then, between 1961 to 1972, the Ahijo put a series of economic and political measures in place to change Cameroon from Federal to United Republic of Cameroon.
What are some of those measures? That
I would start with political measures that Ahijo put in place between 1961 and 1970 to change Cameroon from Federal to unitary. One of the first political measures was that on the 20th, immediately the Forba Conference and Federation went on immediately 1st of October 1961. On the 20th of that very October 1961, Ahijo dissolved the Federal Republic of Cameroon. That was the first political measure he used. He dissolved the Federal Republic of Cameroon. He dissolved and created 6 territorial administrative regions. The 6 territorial administrative region, under normal circumstances, the state of West Cameroon, today North and Southwest, they were supposed to be 3 out of the 6 territorial administrative regions, while East Cameroon, today the regional speak French, supposed to be 3. But unfortunately, by creating the 6 territorial administrative region, the whole of West Cameroon was just 1. While 5 came from the then East Cameroon, former East Cameroon, today the regional speak French. And by creating this territorial administrative region, Ahijo appointed a set of people called federal inspectors who were given more political power than the state prime ministers. The one who was sent to West Cameroon was an arrogant administrator called Ngoh. With wider powers, Ahijo gave him more powers than the prime minister of West Cameroon, Ngoh. On many occasions, this particular Ngoh clashed with the then prime minister of West Cameroon. So by creating divided Cameroon federal into dividing Cameroon into 6 territorial administrative regions headed by these federal administrators who listened to Ahijo and not to anybody, they were able to dissolve the federal system of government and introduce the unitary state. That was the first political measures. And the first political measure is that on the 1st of September 1966, Ahijo decided to dissolve all political parties in West Cameroon, not only in West Cameroon, in entire Cameroon. All political parties were dissolved, and a single political party was created called CNU, Cameroon National Union, September 1966. With CNU, Ahijo was the only single figurehead of the CNU. And with the CNU, there were no other political parties there were no other opposition parties to stop Ahijo's drive or ambition to change Cameroon from federal to unitary. Because there was no other, all political parties in West Cameroon, political parties like the KNDP of Foncha, the CPNC of Ndele, the CUC of Mona, and many other, all of them closed down and dissolved all, and only a single political party was created. So the second political measure that Ahijo decided to dissolve all political parties in Cameroon, and only a single political party existed. And he was the only driver of these single political parties. And because of that, it was very possible for him to change Cameroon from federal to unitary without no opposition for any political parties. I think that's the second political measure that he put in place to change Cameroon from federal to unitary. I would continue again, apart from that, another political measure that the then President Amada Ahijo also used to change Cameroon from federal to unitary is that Ahijo made sure that most members of parliament were supporters of CNU and unitary. Member of parliament, not only member of parliament, even most of the members of government. Ahijo made sure that most members of government are supporters of unitary. If you are a member of government and you are against Ahijo's drive or dream for a unitary state, in most occasions, you will become a victim of dismissals. For example, in West Cameroon, the second prime minister of West Cameroon, the then Augustin Ngoh, whom Ahijo, due to the federal powers given to Ahijo, because Article 39 of the Forba Federal Constitution give Ahijo the power to appoint prime ministers. So the then prime minister of West Cameroon, who took over from Ngoh Foncha, called Augustin Ngoh. I was trying to explain another political measure that Ahijo make sure that if you are in government, you must be supporter of unitary. That's another political measure you use. If you are in government and you are not supporting unitary state, you are in problem. You clash with him. And I would say that the second Prime Minister of West Cameroon, Augustin Komjua, who took over from John Ngoh in 1965, he was working hand in glove with Mr. Amadou Ahidjo. But by 1960, Ahidjo discovered that most of his ways, his political ideologies clash with the idea of unitary state. So Ahidjo decided to dismiss or replace him.
You say there was the first political decision was the creation of administrative unit, which accordingly, the East Cameroon was just supposed to be a state and West Cameroon a state. But when this happened, what was the reaction of the politicians from West Cameroon?
Yeah, that is something. Unfortunately, when we'll be discussing, when we'll continue with the topic, we'll be discussing on reasons why it was very possible for Ahidjo to dissolve the Federal Republic of Cameroon by 1972, and unity state. We are going to discover that he had a lot of advantages. No matter the reaction.
At the time he took this decision, that we are because in the outcome of the Forba conference was the federal constitution, the federal system.
Yes.
Now, and he says, okay, I'm creating regions this way, and then.
No, I will just answer you that one, that the first blunder that started in Cameroon blunder in Forba is by giving constitutional powers to the president. That's the first blunder, because I just signed a degree on that. It was a presidential decree that divided the Federal Republic of Cameroon into 6 territorial administrative regions.
Yes, that's the question.
Yes.
Yeah, when that was done, what was the reaction of the guys from West Cameroon?
We will continue. We discover that there was what among West Cameroonians known as political infighting. I think we are going to be looking about how political infighting among politicians in West Cameroon, how tribalism among politicians in West Cameroon, how character assassination among politicians in West Cameroon contributed to the dissolution of federal system of government. On many occasions, most of them decided just to be saying yes, yes, or we to Mr. Amadou Ahidjo as their own masters, so that they for their own personal or political interests. So when he dissolved the Federal Republic of Cameroon into 6 territorial administrative regions headed by federal administrators who were given wider powers than the state prime ministers, most politicians in West Cameroon, although people like Augustin Komjua, they were disgruntled to an extent, but there was nothing that they could do with President Amadou Ahidjo, given that he used both a presidential degree, I'm still repeating, he signed both degree on that 20th of October 1961, signing a degree to divide Cameroon into the Federal Republic of Cameroon. So I think they even no matter some of them who were disgruntled, it will go nowhere to anything because of the constitutional powers that they vested on the then President Amadou Ahidjo following Article 39 of the Human Federal Constitution.
Seemingly, we lost Baka Derek. We have light issues in Bamenda. Is Baka Derek there? Hello, Derek. Hello, Derek.
Yes, Coop, I can hear you, but we ran out of electricity, so maybe, well, let's just hear you.
Okay, yes, my question is, you followed what Ndukong Clovis is developing here, that already there were a series of political and other measures that were taken by President Amadou Ahidjo after the Forba conference that already indicated that he was taking the nation towards a unitary form. Can we understand why these moves were taken? Are we saying that before going to Forba already the motive behind President Amadou Ahidjo were already get towards a unitary form, that is having a system with more powers concentrated around him? Hello, Derek. Hello, Derek. Seemingly, we have had issues, difficult to get through to Professor Victor Julius Ngoh in Boya, and also very difficult to get through to Baka Derek in Bamenda. Now, I'll stay with you. Before going to the Forba conference, can we say that Ahidjo already knew where he wanted to take the nation to?
That's something I think we discussed this on the. I discussed this on the platform on a particular day that we had some debate here on the platform here. There's something that the Africans or Cameroonians as a whole we don't seem to understand. The French-speaking African country had a political culture, a political, let me put political culture, a system of government totally different from an English-speaking African country that people don't understand. With French-speaking African countries, just like France, there's a system of government that they operate is different from the English-speaking African countries. What do I mean by this? I mean that in most French-speaking African countries, Mr. Leonard, all French-speaking African countries in the world, they don't know what is meant by federation. They don't know federation. Federation is not a Frenchman culture or system of government. Federation is an Englishman system of government, not a Frenchman system of government. French people in Africa and the world believe in centralization, unity, and other form of government, and not federation. So it is very clear what before going to Mfumban, Mr. Leonard, we are going to discuss when they were going to Mfumban, even when the Republic of Cameroon under the then President Amada Ejo was going to Mfumban, in his mind it was not federation. His mind was a unitary state. Yeah, his mind was not federation. Federation is not a Frenchman system of government. But we are going to discover that at the end of the day, he adopted federation because a series of reasons, of which even during the Mfumban conflict, some international pressure from the UNO, and also for the sake of peace, because he discussed how in Cameroon their culture was federation. Most federated countries in the world are English-speaking. The Republic of Nigeria, federation. America, federation. Australia, federation. Canada, federation. Minority francophone. So most federated countries in the world are English-speaking and not French-speaking. French don't know federation. So Aijo, when he was going to Mfumban, his mindset was not federation. Aijo adopted federation in Mfumban because, for the sake of peace for Southern Cameroon and because of pressure from the UNO. And when he accepted that federation, he denied a loose federation and adopted a centralized. His motive behind adopting a centralized federation was because he was the first step. He already knew that he was preparing from this centralized federation to a unitary state by 1972. Yeah,
you say a centralized federation?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That when he was going to Mfumban, his mindset was not for federation, but
unitary. But he adopted
when he did in Mfumban, and because of federation, Southern Cameroon, when they agreed on federation, say, okay, I just say, okay, let's go for federation for the sake of peace, especially for Southern Cameroon like Ndele, who wanted integration with Nigeria. For the sake of peace, let's go for federation. Southern Cameroon say, okay, we want loose. He said no. Is centralized.
Yeah, what do we understand by centralized federation?
Centralized federation with more powers in the hand of the president. That is the tight federation that people are scrupulous, proportional powers given to the president. A binding federation. Because we lose, West Cameroon will be totally control almost everything while East Cameroon only control. But with centralized presidential proportion of powers to the president and then tight to each other, that's too binding more than a loose.
What are the mechanisms that were put in place to demonstrate what you are saying, that the federation was centralized?
No, that one I'm still coming back to say that. Let me put it this way. At the end of the Mfumban conflict, and that is why when we used to discuss this thing, it is historical. I speak like a researcher in history and not a politician. I make it clear that at the end of the Mfumban conference, one of the greatest achievements of Amado Ayejo in Mfumban conference was the adoption of a centralized federation. And because of the adoption of a centralized federation, following the 60 articles that were adopted or drafted in Mfumban, Article 39 vested a lot of powers to President Amado Ayejo. Article 39 vested a lot of powers to Amado Ayejo. And I'm talking about based on the centralized federation that was adopted. And I'm still saying because of centralized federation, presidential powers and other proportion of powers were to the President of the Federal Republic of Cameroon. And because of the centralized federation, presidential power adopted, given to president. And that goes back to say that when I was talking about measures, although you interrupted me, I did not finish with measures. Okay. When I was talking about measures, you interrupted me. One of the reasons why it was possible for Ayejo to divide the Federal Republic of Cameroon is his territorial administration because of the presidential powers given to him. And going back to the centralized federation adopted and presidential power given to the president. Article 39 of the Federal Republic of the Federal Constitution gives powers to President Amado Ayejo. He was the head of state, head of government, commander-in-chief of the army, had power to appoint his minister at any time. That's why at the end of the Mfumban conference, President Amado Ayejo was the president, while Ngoh Foncha was the vice president for West Cameroon. But in 1970, Ayejo dismissed Foncha as the vice president of West Cameroon because of the constitutional power that vested on him. Because of I hope we are clear. Even in 1968, he dismissed Augustin Gomjoa as the prime minister of West Cameroon because of the constitutional powers that were given to him. That's why I say that at the end of the Mfumban conference, it was not a loose, it was a centralized. And Ayejo put pressure on centralized because it was the first step towards unity. The issue of unity in 1972 did not start in 1972. Ayejo put in place a series of economic, political, and social measures between 1961 and 1972 to dissolve the federal system of government and introduce unity. When I talk of political, I talk of dividing Cameroon into 6 territorial administrative regions, signing a decree on the 20th of October 1961. When I talk of political, I talk of creating dissolve all political parties in Cameroon, create only a single party called what? CNU in 1966.
Okay. At the time these parties were dissolved in 1966, the politicians from... Okay. Derek, we're glad to have you back.
Thank you very much, Kum. Happy to be back as well. Feedback. Okay. Yes. Let's go.
Okay. Yes, Derek. Can you also share your understanding on the motives for the move from a federal system to a unitary system of government by President Amadou Ahidjo, knowing that he was engaging politicians from West Cameroon? How easy, how smart was he to be able to maneuver the intelligence of those who came, the politicians that came in from West Cameroon?
Well, I hope I strong going here. I want to start by appreciating the teacher for trying to put us into context. But you know, cool that for us, you know, some time ago, as kids, we barely played roles as actors, maybe at the time as just participants, when we took our time, you know, to prepare and take part in the parade or the march past, as we call it, and then, you know, sing some beautiful songs. As we grew along, we started learning lots of things about the conversation around this unity and around this National Day. And it begins to dawn on us that there could be more to it than just a day for us to celebrate, to make merry, you know, to buy sugar cane and eat some Alaska around the place and enjoy ourselves. But then in my context, I mean, when you listen to the teachers very well, you realize that both at the time of trusted territories that French and English Cameroon found themselves in, there was a lot of politicking and a lot of political work that was done to take us to where we are today. That's sometime in 1972. However, if I were to go by the readings of the times of today, they made me say that when the people come together in a unitary state, which is what I have noticed is happening in many other countries around the world, I am very quick to say that Cameroon is no exception. And so when we look at the realities on the ground, we begin to feel that there is something not actually correct or something not going properly in the marriage, either intentional or by omission. So you have elements that could be intentional. You have a lot of other elements that look like they are omission. But you know that sometimes we can deliberately omit some things, intentionally omit some things so as to make our point go across the way we want it to go across. And so we have from the 1972 conversation, to me, resonates clearly like a kind of a marriage, and you don't expect it to be perfect at all. This is my position. I don't expect it to be perfect, but what I intend to see are the intentional efforts that are made by the spouses in this particular marriage to make sure that it moves. And if I were to go by exactly what's happening, you see that the form of governance that comes as a result of a unity state is central. And then once you are distant away from such centralization in terms of governance in a unity state, you certainly will feel not very much involved in the action itself. And then there are other things, natural factors, that definitely will make someone who is not closer, which is, it could be distance, of course. You realize that marriages that operate from distances, the possibility for those marriages to be successful are really limited, except people are very intentional about making them work. And so when you notice that a part of this marriage in this unitary state is very far from the political capital and also far in terms of in physical distance, you realize that there is a possibility for someone who is not closer to the home of this marriage, which is the state house, to start feeling not very much involved in the marriage. And this will give room for cheating. It will give room for many other things and can result in a couple of other things like what we have now, Leonard.
Raising another aspect as far as the unification process is concerned. You say once in a marriage persons don't feel too connected, they're operating from distances. It provides opportunities for other things to come out. to also justify what is happening today. But there is a unitary decentralized form of government today with the objective of taking and transferring power back to the respective regions. In the case of the Northwest and Southwest, are you saying that that power is not yet felt within the regions? Hello, Derek. Hello, Derek. The network today is horrible. Very difficult to get through to Bamenda, especially Boya. That's why we've not been able to have Professor Victor Ngoh live since the start of the program. I'll stay with you. One of the reasons given hinged on the motive of its expensive nature running the federal system. When you look at the way things operate,
my readings are the way I have them.
Okay.
And I maintain them at all. Yes, Leonard, are you on something?
no, go on.
Sorry.
Go on.
Yes, Leonard.
Yes, you are on. Can you go on, please? Derek, you are on. Hello, Derek. The network is horrible. Yes, I was talking about some of the motives for the movement away from the federal to the unitary form of government had to do with the fact that it was expensive running the government in West and East Cameroon. When you look at what operates today, we have ministers, regional delegations, and we have regional councils. How authentic, how can we justify that move?
I think I will not be able to compare today this particular president and the 1970s, but I think it is clear that today the number of ministers, the number we cannot run from the fact that it's equally expensive as compared to the 1970s. Because one of the most economic reasons why Cameroonian, it was not only Aejo himself, many Cameroonian, I think in the West Cameroon Assembly, a certain Motombi Wolete give that recommendation that the federation was too expensive. It is a glaring historical fact that federation was too expensive to a poor third-world country like Cameroon. I think, Mr. Leo, we should be clear about this. Under the Federal Republic of Cameroon, there were 4 assemblies. There was the Federal House of Assembly in Yaoundé. There was the East Cameroon House of Assembly in Yaoundé. There was the West Cameroon House of Assembly in Boya, and there was the West Cameroon House of Chiefs in Boya. Again, under Federation, there were 3 governments. There was the federal government in Yaoundé, there was the East Cameroon government in Yaoundé, and there was the West Cameroon government in Boya. Forgetting about the 3 governments, let's look at the 4 assemblies if you want to look at the 4 assemblies, the Federal Assembly, the East Cameroon House of Assembly, the West Cameroon House of Assembly, and the West Cameroon House of Chiefs, it gives a total of about 300 deputies or members of assembly, only for a poor third-world country like Cameroon to manage or to take care of them, not to talk of the third government. Mr. Leonard, the federal structure of Cameroon was it is a historical fact that it was too expensive for a poor third-world country like Cameroon in the 1960s and 1970s. So because of this economic reason that it was too expensive, looking at the resources and looking at the federal budget of Cameroon, there was no justification against the dissolution of the Federal Republic on the 20th of May 1972 and the introduction of unitary. I think most political pundits make it clear that if they dissolve the Federal Republic of Cameroon and create the United Republic of Cameroon, the 4 assembly will change only to one single assembly. The 3 government will change only to one government. And the extra budget that have been used to pay over 300 deputies or members of parliament under the Federal Republic, they can use that money to promote social and economic development, like construction of roads, opening of schools, hospitals, and others. So the expensive nature of the Federal Republic of Cameroon was one of the reasons why in 1972, there was the need for Cameroonian supporting issue that Cameroon to be changed from federal to the United Republic of Cameroon. I think, Mr. Leo, apart from that, the expensive nature of that.
Hello, Prof.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Good evening. It's been very, very difficult getting through to you this evening, and I'm sure our viewers have been waiting and waiting. We are glad to have you on this edition of Prime Hour, though not through Skype. We are using a phone to talk with you. We hope that you're going to explain what's happening. I want us to start by establishing the controversies surrounding this celebration. Who took the decision to move the nation towards a federal